Hey everyone, it's Michael here at Home Health Success Academy as well as 10xpatientreferrals.com. In this video series, we're talking about how to be able to help you guys start your own home care business. So in previous modules, we talked about, how do you put your application in? What do you need to be able to have in your sales process? How do you create a feasibility study? How do you put together a business plan? We even helped you guys kind of figure out which way you guys want to open up your home care business, whether you want to open up a franchise. What are the good and bads as well, pros and cons of, starting a home care business in your home? Or what should you do if you're deciding to be able to open up a office somewhere in your community and have your office there rather than home or rather than franchising? So our main goal in this video series is to go over the 14 modules of our training that will allow you to be able to start your own home care business from scratch. Now, if you do need some assistance with any part, that's what we're here for. We definitely want to be able to provide you guys support in your journey about starting your own home care business. Now, in this video, Module 12, we're talking about the service delivery process. And so let's go ahead and get started. So if you are going to become a good home care agency, you must have a well-defined process that is put in place to ensure all of your employees, your agency personnel, your prospective clients and or existing clients, as well as their, full-time caregivers, will understand the services that you will be providing and the appropriate procedures for the delivery of services. The process should be clear. It should be readily adaptable. It should be readily available to be able to suit both the simple and complex cases. A service delivery model for a non-medical home care business is illustrated in the following video series that we want to be able to give you guys. So we want to be able to start this process now. So the initial contact or the inquiry to an agency. So this is a vital and one of the most important parts of your service delivery model. So any person may request home care services from your agency. Most contacts or inquiries involve a request for information or a request for service. The request for service and or information may come by way of phone, email, regular mail, fax, website, in person, or from a number of sources such as the clients themselves, potential clients, families, friends, neighbors, community agencies, hospital discharge planners, organizations, even other home care agencies or co-professionals. Yes, there are going to be times where some home care agencies will refer to you because they cannot staff that particular person or they do not provide services within that area. For example, for franchise companies, if you decide to franchise a company, a home care business, you're only in charge of a certain territory. So if there is any referrals for outside your territory, you actually have to make sure that that is referred to the proper agency that covers that particular area. Screening is important. Once initial contact is made, a screening process should take place to gather data from and exchange information with the person making the inquiry. The goal of screening is to help to determine the reason for the inquiry, the type and level of service being sought, and whether or not your agency has the resources and capabilities to provide the requested services. Now, one thing I have to teach you guys on this is that a lot of agencies makes a big mistake where their own receptionist is not trained to be able to onboard a particular client. Everyone in the office must be able to be trained to how to be able to ask or screen an inquiry. And the best way to kind of get this fixed, the best way that everybody and to ensure everybody knows what they need to do is you should have a screening question sheet that is readily available that anybody in your office can just start asking the questions to kind of figure out, is this person right for our agency and can we actually provide care for them? Screenings can lead to one or more three actions, right? The number one action, request for information, which results in the provision of information. Number two, request for services that are outside the scope of your agency, which results in making an outside referral. Or action three, request for services that are within the scope of your agency, which results in initiating the service delivery process. But as you guys can see, no matter what whether it's outside your service area, outside the scope of your practice, or just information, you want to become the person that gets called for everything. You want to be able to start a funnel where you can be the solution for any problem that's faced. If a say social worker gives you a call and say, hey, we have a patient that needs medical services and your agency does not provide that, you tell them, great, thank you so much. I can get you the right person. Give me the information. Let me find out how I can help you. So action one, right? Request for information. Once information is requested, responses may be provided in person, via the telephone, email, fax, or even postal mail. Now, just let you guys know, I would stay away from postal or even from email. I would more concentrate into the live in-person providing, the telephone providing, as well as possibly if I can actually put them in what we call an online funnel where they can get all the information that they need online, and you can actually track if they've watched all those videos and all the information that you provided them. So all necessary information about the agency and its services shall be provided in order that potential clients and or interested individuals can make informed decisions. Now, in some cases, a call may come in requesting general information such as services you provide, your hours of operation, cost of service, and or even question about the agency. Action number two, the outside referral. It may become obvious during the screening process that the services an inquirer is seeking are beyond the scope and capability of what your agency provides. They may want that nursing services which are medical in nature. Therefore, a referral may be required to be sent over to a home health agency, right, that delivers both medical services as well. And so you need to be able to make sure that you properly screen everyone that you're talking to. Now, action three, like we said, it could be a result of a request for service. So if the inquiry results in a request for a service, which your agency is able to provide, you can follow the sequences of steps as outlined in the service delivery model. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So you want to be able to conduct an in-home interview, right? So you need to be able to identify the needs, develop a service plan, obtain a client's consent for release of info. Then, if you are going into that to do that in-home interview, it is important that you have to have the right mindset that you are there to close the deal. You must send a person who's trained in sales, who's trained in marketing, and not just somebody who's trained in providing information. It's about providing information and closing the deal to get them to start using your services. Once you're able to close the deal, then you can start scheduling staff. You want to be able to deliver provided services. You want to maintain client records, follow up and monitor, and make changes as even required. That right there is the service delivery model. You sell the person, you then close them, you can then schedule a staff member, you can then deliver and provide the services. That's your caregiver providing the services. You want to maintain their records while you're providing the cares for them. You always want to keep on following them up, not just allowing your caregiver to just run amok and just give them just a free chance to roam around and to take care of the client. You yourself as an owner, your supervisors, your managers must always follow up with the patients and the families, making sure that they're being provided great care. And then, of course, like I said, if there are any changes that needs to happen, then make changes as required. Now, to try to make things easier for me, when I'm there to talk to a client to try to close a deal and get them to use our services, when I go in for that interview, that home interview, the assessment, I'm there to make the decision to be able to close them right there and then. So I will be ready right there to start saying, hey, when do you want to start the services for your mom? When do you want me to start scheduling for the caregiver to come in to see everything? That's what you guys need to be able to do. Okay, so we talked about the steps that you need to do when you're implementing your delivering service, meaning that it goes from being able to get that initial phone call or to get that initial referral. Let's say, for example, you got a phone call and you say, and you talk to a client who they want their mom to get some services for your home care company. This can also happen. Let's say, for example, you get an assisted living facility that gives your agency a call and say, hey, we have a client here that may need some additional services at our facility, and we need to have a caregiver or a homemaker come in to provide some services. So when you get that initial call or that initial referral, your team must be able to have a set of questionnaires that they need to be able to ask right away. But the best way to be able to complete this and seal the deal is to actually be able to meet with them one-on-one. So if you get a facility to give you a call, you should send one of your representatives over there right away, whether it's the administrator, the manager of the office, or even your salesperson or your account executive. So once you get to that facility, you need to be able to speak to the decision maker, who really is going to be making the decision on choosing your agency, or who's going to be making the decision on who's going to actually take care of the payments, because we can't really provide these services unless we're going to get paid, right? So when we talk to the family member who's the decision maker, we need to find out and identify what their needs really are. Do they need somebody just for basic companion care? Do they need somebody to come to the house to provide additional work like basic housekeeping, some errands, some assistance for certain things, medication assistance, for example? So there's a variety of different services that we're offering. We need to find out, what services they need to be able to be receiving from us. Once we identify all the basic needs, pretty much what are the problems that they're facing and they want solved, we then need to right there alone set a service plan, show them what the plan of care that we're going to be providing. But ultimately, also, once we have all that set, we need to be able to close a deal by making sure that they sign a service agreement, and at the same time figure out what the contract is and the form of payments. So there's a variety of different ways to receive the payments. There's the cash method, personal checks, there's a credit card charges, and so you need to be able to kind of put together and determine what is going to be your pricing structure. One thing that I try to set up with a lot of clients, and I tell them, is that for them to be able to get a lower cost, we can set up a prepayment plan. And the reason why we can do a prepayment plan is just make sure that we are going to get paid, rather than trying to bill the clients after the care that's provided. If you're going to be providing billing after services, like let's say some agencies do it every week or every 2 weeks or every month, you need to be able to kind of make sense of those type of services. If you are gonna be billing a person or a client 2 weeks after each care, you want to be able to make sure you assess everything correctly. I've known a lot of agencies have had problems with this, especially the ones who bill every month. And then you have to also make sure that on your service agreements, are there going to be penalty fees if they don't pay on time? A lot of agencies, don't even want to discuss penalty fees, and that can put you in the hole at times. So it's a matter of being able to create your service agreements and making sure that those paperworks are signed and taken care of, and then also obtain a consent form to release information. And the reason for that is because any information they give you, you must obtain a consent for those, especially if a client is staying at another facility like an assisted living facility or a memory care facility. Then you want to be able to make sure that any information that's released, you have that consent form signed. When you start scheduling the staff, my big suggestion to do is, you should have a set of staff members that are ready to go to provide the care for the client the moment you come in and do a home interview. And the reason for that is you don't want to be able to close the deal, then all of a sudden can't find a caregiver. And so you have to make sure that you have a steady stream of potential caregivers that are ready to go to provide care for the client. And then there's the next thing is to provide the services. You must be able to make sure that your team, arrives in the house on time. Your team is actually properly dressed. Your team is ready to be able to handle whatever they're going to be facing. And the best way to figure out if your caregiver is able to handle the type of client that they're going to be taking care of is that when you identify the needs of the clients, when you create a service plan, you should go over the service plan with the caregiver that's going to be providing the care. Give them some notes, give them some ideas. If there are certain things that they're not ready for, provide them additional training, additional in-services as much as possible. Maintaining the client records are important. A lot of agencies are still doing paper-based recording of the patient and client's information, and those are perfectly fine. But eventually, you should be able to convert yourself into a paperless setup And there are a lot of softwares that are available out there. If there are, if you have any questions for softwares, or you want to be able to know what software would be ideal for your organization, there's softwares that has good pricing structures for a smaller based home care company that is averaging maybe 30 to 50 patients a month. And there's also robust software as well out there that you can, that takes great care for agencies that are providing care for 100 patients and above. Either or, whatever decision you make, you want to be able to make sure that you are keeping the records correctly and that your team actually fills out the proper forms needed, whether it's by paper-based or paperless setup through cloud computers. And then follow up and monitor, like I've said in the previous slide, is making sure that you actually follow up with your staff. You don't want to just have your staff providing care and the team in the office is not aware of what care is happening. Is the patient declining? Does the patient need additional services? Are there additional things that should be educated to the family as well as to the client that the agency can provide? And of course, step 7, making changes as required. And there are times where maybe certain caregivers are not able to provide the right care for a client because they don't feel comfortable, or maybe the client needs somebody who can actually provide more care, more intense care as much as possible. And that sometimes happens for people who are just caregiver certified and somebody who is CNA certified or a nursing assistant certified. Sometimes you might need a CNA to provide the care rather than just a regular caregiver certification person. So make sure that when you provide your care, when you implement your services, that you do a really good job, because you have to understand, just because you're taking care of this client, that's not just the client that you're going to get. You may get more referrals because of that client, because of that family member, because of the assisted living facility that referred that patient to you. So you need to be able to give the best care as possible. And also, the best way to actually make sure that you provide the best care possible for your client is to have the higher standards available for you, and to be able to make sure that each client that comes into your office should be provided with the same quality care as much as possible. And that's one way to be able to make sure that you are providing quality care for your clients. So I hope this particular video at our home care startup video series is very much helpful for you. If you have any other questions, our goal is to be able to give you guys all the information. Remember, we do have the set of policies and procedures available. If that's something that you want to be able to put in place rather than creating yourself, we have that available for purchase at our organization. If you have any questions, always contact us by our phone number, or just go ahead and email us. Our goal here at Home Health Success Academy, as well as 10xpatientreferrals.com, is to provide you with everything you need to be able to learn how to create a successful home care company.